This is episode 1, The Loss of Power and Greatness. In the first scene, the wedding plans are finally set for the following day. My queen, yes, we have all wedding plans set, as you are per your instructions. That is good. Jon Snow and I, of course, by traditions, will be in separate rooms, chambers, because we want this to be done appropriately. Once the wedding is over, then I shall assume what is rightfully mine, the Iron Throne of Swords for the realm of the kingdoms. I understand, my queen. Thank you for informing me of this. Daenerys seems well pleased. Everything is going so well since her invasion. And then she decides to summon Missandei. Missandei enters the room. As you know, this is confidential, and I wish to discuss things with you. Yes, my queen. Well, it seems all is going to plan. There has not been any upheavals or risals. No one trying to rise against me. Well, it was a great victory. And since you've already had the throne somewhat for 2 days, it becomes official on the 3rd day after you marry Jon Snow. Yes, finally I will have what is rightfully mine. I wonder, though it is very quiet, it makes me wonder if there isn't anybody brave enough to rise against me. I'm not sure, my queen. How is it that you mean? Well, it's as if it's too quiet. It's like hardly anybody from any kingdom or representative has shown up to prepare for the wedding. I wonder if it's perhaps they do not approve, though I don't need their approval. That is true. Well, they will have to get used to it. You think I have in any way acted inappropriately? Well, the actions by the Dothraki seem a bit much. Yes, but there's nothing we can do about it. It is their way. That is true. I see what you mean. Well, in time, they will just have to accept the fact that I will be the supreme queen of the realm of the kingdoms. There's nothing they can do about it. So I could care less whether they feel I have acted appropriately or not. Well, you are the queen. Yes, I am. Well, shall we go for a walk in the gardens? It sounds like a good idea. And so with that, the scene then goes to the fleeing of Arya Stark, who warns her siblings, Bren and Sansa, of something they have just heard. Arya Stark rushes in to where Bren and Sansa are sitting and talking about things as they plan on attending the wedding of their brother, half brother, Jon Snow, and suddenly reports, I just heard a mass army is forming for an invasion of King's Landing. Really? Says Sansa. When did you hear this? It, why, well, I heard it from people talking. Though they have not done anything to warn, they don't feel that such a thing can actually occur. I have a bad feeling about this. There's also been a decree to, well, go on. There is another Bolton relative, and he has decreed that your head's to be on a pike. My head? Why, he has learned of his nephew that you allowed the dogs to feed upon, though he did deserve it. And he is not happy, and so assassins are on the way looking for you right now, this very minute. Oh, I see. She doesn't seem to be too pleased with this and is a little bit worried at the moment for her own safety. But shouldn't we warn Jon Snow? There's no time, Sansa. If you're gonna survive, we can't allow you to get killed now. We'll have to go. I wish we could warn him, but anybody could look like one of us and be assassins. Are we to finally be killed and there be no Starks left over? I agree, says Bren. We need to leave. It is much too reluctantly that we should have to go without good warning. But if all three of us are killed, then who will be the ones to take the land back from the Boltons, or even to form such an army and to take back what's rightfully ours, let alone carry our family name? Yes, I suppose you're perhaps right. So they flee reluctantly, without a chance to warn Jon Snow, in order to save Sansa Stark from assassination. It is discussed that the battle that is planned is to be the greatest in all Targaryen history by those who are under Lannis King's command as an allied leader, like that of Daenerys' invasion of King's Landing, and that much has been planned and well thought of. The assassins, in the meantime, keep going from house to house looking for Sansa Stark, because they figure if they can find two of them, they'll find her as well. Perhaps they'll kill them all. They haven't decided yet. They continue moving about in a rude manner, knocking stuff over, trying to find out if they're hiding anywhere. They carry the order by the Bolton King. So with that, as the scene goes back to them, they pack. We must hurry. There's no time. I'm hurrying as fast as I can. Oh, go faster. So Arya helps Sansa pack things, and then they leave quickly, making sure that nobody notices them, to sneak out as fast as they can. They flee to obscurity and decide to get on a ship to sail across to the refuge of Dragonstone, a least likely place to be found. I think once we get across, says Bren, they would least likely suspect we'd be here, because it is merely an island, and as in past times, they are less likely to enter such a war anyway against the Daenerys. They would probably remain neutral, as they have always done. So therefore, us being over here, they would less likely suspect anything. Well, that is true. Let us hope for the best. It's going to be unfortunate for what is probably going to end up being the greatest fall of King's Landing, once again, this time for all the kingdoms. So, the ship sails off, and they look on as the city gets smaller as they're sailing out for the island known as Redstone, and thus becomes the verge of what will seem to be a very massive attack upon King's Landing. As the new Lannis King leads his forces to the charge of putting a siege on King's Landing, and the dragon warriors are charging at the Dothraki while the mysterious other explorers and assassins from Sutherose are about to outflank them. The three dragon slayers have their huge, giant dragon-slaying crossbows mounted in position, ready in case Daenerys should get wise and have the dragon summoned to come after them. Because again, they are marksmen and not one to be trifled with, and are ready to have their fair game if they should be attacked. However, since this doesn't happen, they stand by, because it was the plan of the Lannis King that should she, with Lannis, be out on the balcony, she will see that it might not be wise for her to try to summon her dragons if she truly loves her dragons, but he will try to taunt her purposely without respect to her, so that she can live with only 2 dragons instead of 3. In this next scene, it is early morning. A mass wall of forces are seen from left to right as far as the eye can see. In this musical scene, it shows them riding up and finally taking their place as Lannis King finally is about ready to give the order for the charge as soon as the sun rises. ' Atlantis king, who is allied commander, makes a snide remark about the Dothraki. This is the Dothraki? Hell, they don't even have armor. They only wear a loincloth. But yet, if they're that fierce, well, we should teach them a lesson about what happens when you come into our realm of the kingdoms, raping women and young girls, and she's done nothing to stop this. So, apparently, we need to drive them out. Alright, everyone, prepare for battle. And so with that, it then will start with the Dragon Warriors charge. Explorers coming out of Sutherose saw some things going on after they had traveled to Esseros for a bit and managed, without being detected by the Dothraki, who are outside of King's Landing, to meeting up with the general commander of his 20,000 soldiers, and the other 4 commanders under him with 20,000 each. After they exchanged greetings with each other, he asked what's going on, and they seem to exchange ideas about exploration, things that they're checking out because this is all new to them. But the assassins from Sutherose are not really interested in anything that this part of the world has, but seems interested in taking on a challenge if it's for the good, not for evil, and therefore they decide to become friends and go against the Dothraki. So in which case, then they begin their plans. The best way to defeat one who wears loincloth and claims to be tough is to form such an array of outflanking. Therefore, they would be trapped against King's Landing, and the bay to which the sailing vessels would be their only means of escape for those that we don't kill off entirely. There should be enough for us each to kill. Yes, I agree. So they look at a map then. All right, you have how many with you right now? Well, we don't have a major army like you do, but we are well skilled enough to handle our own. I see. Very good then. You shall outflank them here. And he points to the southeast area. We and the 4 commanders with 20,000 each shall surround them at the point where we link with you. They will have no choice but to retreat to the bay. And for those that aren't killed, we will allow them to get on the ships, so that those with ships who have not been bombarded by this Iron Islands king and his sailing vessels will be driven back to where they came from, of this place called Esseroth. I like the plan. So when does it start? Should be any time now. We are merely waiting for the orders of one who is a relative of the Lannis, Baratheon house, I think it is. In any case, he is going to lead this mission. Therefore, he is mission commander. We are merely assisting him. Very well, then I shall assist you. And this way, the Dothraki shall definitely be driven back. Very good, then. So they shake hands on it, and the Sutherose assassins, who are also explorers, then travel back so they could take their position and wait for the signal. In the meantime, the general commander, rubbing his chin, seems well pleased that these so-called Dothraki, who think they're invincible, are about to learn something new. These dragon warriors, though they may have strange armor, will not easily be cut by their sickle swords, for it'd be no different than one trying to cut their T-bone steak with a butter knife. It will rub, but it will not cut. And that will be the demise and undoing of the so-called fierce Dothraki. The next thing is that some other people, what type of assassins, come up out of Sutherose and meet up with the head Chinese commander. They talk about many things, about what's going on, and ask if he may assist if they should require skills, that perhaps they can outflank them. The Chinese commander seems to agree with this, and he then talks with this other one from Sutherose, and they plan how to outflank them, thus guaranteeing at least 1/3 of the Dothraki would be killed, and perhaps the others, seeing that they cannot be the best as they boast, will flee and with much fear, perhaps go back on the ships and return to where they came from. The Iron Islands king also seems to agree with this, and agrees that he will let them flee because there would be no reason to chase after them, since the main goal is to drive her out, not chase after those that she brought. So thus is the plan, and The assassins who come from the edge of the known world of Sethros then take their positions and wait for the signal to be given. It is quite evident at this point, after this musical scene, that the Suthoros assassins who joined the fight after consulting a Chinese commander and outflanked the Dothraki are successful. The dragon warriors who charge at the Dothraki and Iron Island's king begins ship-to-ship attacks. 1/3 of the Dothraki are completely annihilated, while the remaining 2/3 flee to the ships not yet destroyed. But at that moment, the Iron Island's king decides not to destroy the ships that are fleeing with the Dothraki, because this would be in vain, for it is the siege of King's Landing to force Daenerys off the throne, and to stop the marriage of a man who has risen from the dead by the woman in red. So as they flee, he allows them to do so. because it was still an accomplishment. In the meantime, the remaining one half of Daenerys' sailing vessels, who flee with the permission of the Iron Islands king, is destroyed, including Daenerys' proud flagship, the Mother of Dragons flagship, and this becomes the musical scene of the ship-to-ship battle. At this point, the siege is now complete. King's Landing is completely surrounded, and there is nowhere for anyone in King's Landing to escape. And they find a way, since nobody expected this type of an attack, because they're all busy attending to such a wedding between Jon Snow and Daenerys, that this becomes her downfall because of her being too decadent and wanting the power like her brother, but more in a subtle way because of all the forces that she had when she invaded King's Landing. And it will be her own undoing, but she has yet to find this out. And so thus begins the musical scene of the final siege of King's Landing. As the final siege is taking place during this musical theme, after the sound effects of the much siege battle, Lannis King storms the King's Landing in brown robes that was provided by the woman in red, killing knights and guards to prevent any warning to Jon Snow and Daenerys. The Sunspear warriors also scaled walls and used some unusual type pipes that spun in a circle very quickly, sounds whistles for others to come through the gates because now there's no one to stop them to conclude and continue the invading of King's Landing. The Faith of the Seven, of course, take over the old temple area and defend it. And the siege is initiated, and King's Landing falls to being surrounded. The killing makes its way to the throne room location. At first, the wedding is halted due to the commotion of screams, killing of many outside the doors, but then resume the wedding to be finished quickly so that she can. Meantime, Lannis King finally slams the doors open just after the marriage has been resumed and completed, and enters with over 200 men. At that point, Jon Snow and Lannis King have a confrontation. How dare you enter in like this manner? Lannis King then tells him, "Shut your mouth. You're a dead man walking. But you are quite the spectacle for one who's risen from the dead." Daenerys doesn't say anything at first. She's a little confused by what is being spoken about Jon Snow. But his being alive is quite the spectacle. Then he tells Daenerys, "Please, go ahead and call your dragons. I have 3 strangers who've always wanted to hunt fair game. You might find them interesting if you wish to see them before you summon your dragons. Surely you live with only 2 dragons. Let us kill one of them so we can demonstrate this force. Unless you don't want to call my bluff. Do you wish to see these strangers?" She knows that this may be a good idea because she senses there's something up, something that might not be a good idea to summon them. Says he leads her to the balcony, as many people are in battle and everything. "See what you can see, my queen," he says in a snide remark, where he holds up his hands. There are any strangers she's never seen before have these huge gun-like weapons. "Now, please call your dragon. We would like to kill one. They figure it's a great honor to have it stripped of all its flesh, and the bones mounted as a trophy to have it a great game." She looks at him kind of scornfully and looks away, knowing that if she calls the dragons, possibly they would be killed. "I see. So, well then, I guess then you will not be foolish enough to call your dragons. And what can you do? We have you surrounded. You don't deserve the Iron Throne. You're evil. You're a treacherous wench who does not belong here, and I should not show you any respect. You will respect me. And I have the rightful claim. I am the relative of former King Lannis. So, unless you have a problem that I should know about, I can either kill you now, or I can kill you later, or I can guarantee you safe passage." So the scene then ends where it goes into the missing pages of time. He sees the fact that by her putting the Queen Mother on restrictions is because she probably had her own plans for the Queen Mother, but that because he is aware of such laws after reading many scrolls, although he has much to read still at the House of Lannis, that such restrictions also prevents her from being executed. Well, in that case, then she states then that she does not want the Queen Mother on the Iron Throne. They both have a mutual agreement on this because he has his own claims to it. So it to annul the marriage since not consummated, or as an alternate scene, end the marriage and disown any child born, or a war that neither side wins is on her hands and all will hate her. And of course, we all know that she is supposed to rule people that would love her. However, she is charged by the new king of House of Lannis Lannis King then finally makes this charge. As to the pact that never died when the former King Lannis died, I hereby charge the treachery for claiming that you would remain neutral, because you can't be neutral if you marry her. So therefore, that violates the pact. As to you, well, you're hereby charged for the evil of allowing the raping of women and young girls by the Dothraki, who should have never been brought over here. I cannot control them. They do as they please. That is their way. Well, that apparently you don't seem to know very well tactics, do you? And you're supposed to be the Spring Queen. You are so naive. You have no reason or right to the throne. You can't even plan properly. You're about as intelligent as your father, who is a mad king. You do not have to take anything except what I tell you to do. And right now, I'm the one in charge here. All I have to do is wave my hand, Daenerys, and they can kill you right now in a moment's notice. Do you wish to finish what you're about to say? She doesn't say anything. I have the upper hand. That's the way of it. You are defeated. Accept it. Daenerys is thus hated by many kingdoms, and her reputation is now diminished. So, with this now, she sees that the Dothraki, who have not been killed, are truly fleeing back to their homelands on the remaining vessels. She is saddened to see that not only the other half of her ships, but her flagship has been all but destroyed and are burning on fire. She also confirms that the Dragon Slayer's presence are there, as they wave back when the new Lannis King of the House Lannis waves at them, and they acknowledge his presence, and thus can't call upon dragons as an option. So what is she to do? She looks on, and the fighting eventually starts to slowly dwindle down, seeing many corpses all over the ground. She now confirms that by looking that they are evenly matched, yet she would be a ruler of nothing with no victory to either side. So, do you accept your fate? Daenerys reluctantly has no choice and accepts her fate with nothing to do. Sign this. If you do, I shall allow you to live, and you shall go back to where you came from. I believe it's called Marine of Essos. Your time here is done. You held, at least for the time being, about 3 days, the Iron Throne, even though it was on your wedding day. But I don't think you deserve this. You haven't proven yourself worthy. And once again, as I said before, you were too decadent about your power. Yes, true, your brother acted in haste, but you're being seductive and decadent about it. You cannot be the one to rule the realm of the kingdoms. You don't even know how to rule. A true Supreme Queen would have been prepared for anything. So obviously, this is your downfall. And if you knew anything, you would have thought twice before marrying Jon Snow. She doesn't seem to understand. I will grant you one right, like one wish, of your ruling command, before you are escorted and forced out of Westeros. Think hard of what you want to command, because if you only get one chance to command anything. And don't even think about trying to command any attack on us, because again, though we may not win, neither will you. Shall you be a queen of dead bodies, you'll have ruled nothing. And all will still hate you, as they do now. I hear that you're supposed to be destined to rule a people who will love you. Well, you certainly went about it the wrong way. You should have never, ever brought the Dothraki here. And they were no match for these dragon warriors. She doesn't quite say anything. I'm not sure what she used to say. I have thought of a command. Very well, you may proceed. As I cannot have the Iron Throne, neither shall this Queen Mother, who I had forced off the throne. Well, there's one thing we can agree on, this new Lannis King agrees to. I don't want her on the throne either. That's a good choice. Well done. Well, I wasn't doing it for your favor. Well, nevertheless, it works in my favor, because she won't have the throne either. And what are you going to do? Take it? No, I believe in traditions. Everybody has a claim to it. I could easily take it, but what would that solve? No, I think everybody has a right to get their claims out on the table, and then when they see mine as greater, they'll have no choice but to follow me. I protest, says Lady Tyrell. She should be executed for what she did to my daughter. And if it wasn't for what happened to my daughter, King Tomlins would still be alive and on the throne today. I hear your claim, says the new Lannis King, but since it seems to me that Queen Daenerys here had other plans for her, her command is that of a restriction, and therefore that also exempts her from such an execution. Afraid you're kind of out the door on that one, Lady Tyrell. That is, I say respectfully. Yeah, well, we'll see when the time comes. Her time is due. She has to be punished for what she has done. But as long as she's not on the throne, I guess I can't complain much about that. Then another document is of oath of withholding is drawn up to withhold all that has happened now from the history books, and thus is presented to Daenerys with force to sign. Sign this as well. By doing so, because of the sensitive politics involved, you shall at least leave with some dignity. I will allow this, and we will withhold this from the history books. It will just simply look like you conquered King's Landing, but no one will know that you actually were dethroned, and that you lost because you were not fully aware or paying attention of our arrival. With shaky hands, she knows that she can't do sudden movements because most swords are pointed at her, and this is a sad moment for her. Very shakily, she signs the document. Is there anything else? She says in a rough way. Ooh, such attitude, he says in a snide remark. No, I think that will do just fine. Then he takes the cloak off of her, and with her mouth slightly dropped open in a stern look. Oh, I'm sorry, my lady, he says in a snide way. You won't be needing this. And he has two knights hold it together and slices it in half. Well, this symbolically means there is no marriage between you and Jon Snow now. So it is now dissolved or annulled. Either way, it does not exist. Then casts him to the ground and wipes his feet on him rudely. So with that, then, he then tells her, you are now to return to Esseros, the Marine Pyramid Palace. I have purchased at least a few ships for you from the King of the Iron Islands, who has agreed to let you have these. Obviously, I won't be too hard on you. I wouldn't expect a queen like you to swim across the ocean. So we will just let you have these ships. Off you go now, he says in a rude way. Daenerys accepts without words, but of gesture. Jon Snow tries to offer comfort. Daenerys refuses it. No, it will do no good to try to offer me comfort, because I shall find none. We have greatly lost for the first time. I should have known better. But it is too late. Oh, yes. That reminds me, Lannis King says with a big grin. Did you know that, from what I've read, you didn't like sorcerers very much because of the fact of what happened to your first husband? I believe it was a Dothraki king, Drogo? Yes, that is true. What are you trying to say? Well, it seems really strange how you would never, if you're supposed to be such a wise queen, not know that Jon Snow was once dead and was risen from the dead. That's a lie. Really? Well, let's talk about it to the person who rose him himself. I'm sure Jon Snow can't lie about this because he would be lying, and she will tell it so because he did, from what I understand, cast her out because of her religious practice of burning people to the stake. Though I don't condone this myself, and I've already warned her if that happens, she'll meet the end of my sword, and she has agreed not to do so. Would you like care to explain this to him? Yes. Daenerys, as much as I hate to tell you this, and though you probably do not want to hear me speak, Jon Snow was once dead, and you married a dead man walking, she says in a laughing way. I did not know you would bring yourself to such things. Such a horrid way for a supposed supreme queen to marry a man risen from the dead. I guess I got away with that one, and you didn't see it coming. Daenerys scornfully looks at the woman in red, wants to probably rip her eyes out, but knows she can't do nothing at this point. I did not know this. Well, it seems like you don't know much of anything, and you're supposed to be a supreme queen, says King Alanis. Well, so much for having the gift of knowledge, and you're supposed to be the Dragon Queen. Well, that's okay, because it don't matter now. The dead man walking will have his time, as soon as we escort you to the ship so you can leave. Well, then, once this is all done, and the truth about Jon Snow has been revealed about him being risen from the dead by the woman in red, Daenerys is surprised by the truth, and after he has rubbed it into her face for her lack of any knowledge. Meantime, the scene then will switch to an area where Littlefinger is about to make his escape.